Hello, beautiful women. So, I want to come on here and share a transmission around the wisdom of our hearts and how tending our breasts is such an essential part of being in tune with the wisdom of our hearts. So, when we're disconnected from our breasts, when our breasts are numb, or they're really tight or tense or heavy or painful, then oftentimes that is also part of what we're experiencing in connection to our hearts, right? That is blocking the signal of communication from our hearts because our breaths are extensions of our hearts. And so our hearts are incredibly powerful, right? Our hearts have this capacity to know and to sense and to be attuned to our environments, be attuned to other people, and to be able to signal to us, how we feel about different things. Signal to us inner knowings and wisdoms about things. And our breasts, in their natural design, are actually meant to be highly attuned to our environments and to our relationships, to other people's hearts and feels and beings. And when our breasts are really open and all the channels are flowing, then all of that communication, that attunement, those signals can be received in clarity and in cohesion, right? We can really clearly sense the truths of our hearts, the truths of what we are picking up from our environments, from situations, from conversations. Right? That those channels are open and clear, and we're able to receive that medicine. And that is where we can walk in attunement with the wisdom of our hearts and the wisdom of our breasts. The breasts are the most forward parts of our body, right? They literally meet the world first. And that just says a lot about their design and about their ability to sense and feel. But what happens, when the breasts are congested, when the breasts are really dense and heavy, when the breasts have a lot of pain and stagnation or have cysts, then all of those things are congesting those signals of attunement between ourselves and our environment, between ourselves and other people. And then you might have more of a confusing signal, right? You might not be able to pick up on the information with such clarity and cohesion. Right? It's going to be a bit blocked or distorted because there's stagnant and unprocessed things sitting in the breasts, blocking that clear communion. Right? Even an extreme version, if the breasts are completely numb and really dense and fibrous and tight, and they're just stuffed away in a constrictive bra all day, they're not really, those channels of communion, of attunements, are quite blocked up and constricted. So they're not really able to attune so accurately to space. And this can affect us on such immense levels, such deep levels, right? Of even somebody communicating something to you and you can't fully receive it in its truth, of that moment, because you have all this other stuff sitting on top of that that's blocking that reception. And this is so huge for our relationships, right? Communion of our hearts with other people. I have found in my own journey, in my own self, that as my breasts have opened and as I have allowed them to be more attuned and more connected to my environments and relationships, I have such a stronger capacity for discernment, right? Discernment to sense what is loving and what is not, to sense what is for me and serving me and what is not for me, what is not my business, what is not mine to get involved in. Right? And that is so potent, also for women in our sexual energy, right? And who we are letting into our field to commune with our body, to commune with our womb space and our sexual energy. I feel like when my breasts were more congested, when I wasn't tending to them so much, I had less clear discernment about that. And I would say yes to situations or to getting intimate with people that was not actually truly of a loving vibration. It was not actually truly of reverence and full honoring and supporting, uplifting of my field. And when my breasts really opened and came online more, that discernment became so much more clear, so much more obvious, where it's so clear to me, right? I would never, it's like my system, my channels wouldn't even be able to open to somebody who wasn't in a loving vibration, who wasn't in a full resonance with my being and that space of reverence. And I think this is where the heart and the breasts are such a key part of our feminine navigational system, such a key part of the navigational system of our womb, right? And I've seen this a lot in the collective also, that sometimes if it's just a focus on the womb and there's just a lot of womb work being done, but the breasts are still numb, or the breasts are still congested, then that quality of discernment, that quality of really stewarding, guarding, protecting the innocence and love and joy of our beings is not necessarily online. And so women can still end up getting involved in situations, whether that's intimate, sexual, or relational, or business wise, or really in any facet of life, but getting involved in situations that actually aren't honoring their true being, aren't honoring and supporting that love and reverence. So it is such a key. So the video got cut off there for a moment. So here we are, continuing part 2. So yeah, this tending to our breasts and helping clear out what has built up there, what has become stagnant there, which often is, past emotional experiences that we didn't process, that we kind of stuffed down. I mean, sometimes it can be other things like excess hormones in our body, or the effect of inflammatory things that we are eating. There's all different things, but whatever it is, when we support some of that to be processed and to be cleared, then we open the way for more of that communion that is in present time and that is clear and open and available. And to actually be able to be in tune with and feel the deeper truths of our hearts. And so this can be a huge piece for women as well, is that sometimes we maybe don't want to actually look at or admit the truth of what we feel. Right? I know this was also huge for me on my journey, and it being very connected to my ancestral line of women in my line who during their life didn't have the capacity to have their full voice heard and respected, right? They couldn't share the truths of their hearts, the psychic knowings that they sensed and felt. They had to suppress those things and hide them to survive, to stay alive. And that can be in so many of us, right? It's not just the inability to maybe speak a truth or to speak a frustration, to speak something strange that we're sensing and feeling, but it's also sometimes to even admit it to ourselves, right? To even let ourselves feel and know that truth, right? That I'm sensing that something is off here. I know that, what they said then doesn't line up with what they just said now. And there can be this way that we kind of just dismiss that and just push it aside because we don't really want to make an issue, or we don't want to create conflict, or we don't think that it's, right, there's this ingrained patterned spell that we don't think it's safe to know and sense these things. But those very things are really significant, really important, right? They're part of our navigational system. They're part of our inherent technology of our female bodies. The technology of the attunement of our heart fields and of our breasts, to be able to sense and pick up on these things, to then be able to navigate, right? Of, what is for us and what is not for us, and what we want to step closer towards and what we want to move away from. It is very protective. And it is protecting that reverence for ourselves. So this is just one of the deeper layers that I have discovered and found in the realms of tending to the breasts. This is one of the deeper pieces that can open and that we can become closer to when we tend to the breasts. And one of the reasons it's so important that we activate this technology of our bodies, this God-given technology of our anatomy, of our breasts and heart, connected to our womb. feel like there's one more piece that wants to be shared. I'm just feeling into what that is and where that is. Yeah, I'm remembering in one of my breast massage trainings, there was a sister there who, during that weekend, was going through a really intense shift in her relationship. That was actually basically a breakup process that had just started. And so she was in a really tender place coming to the training. And it was a very nourishing and beautiful space with all of us women there to hold her in that and support her in that. And she got to receive breast massage, multiple breast massage sessions. And she said that it helped her so much in navigating this experience with her partner. This experience where there was so much happening that felt really hurtful, that felt really heartbreaking, right? Where grief and all of these feelings were emerging. But she felt like through the breast massage, she was able to really be with those feelings more and process them. And then really know and be attuned and be able to communicate her truths through it all. And it's so vital because also that in relationships and in dynamics, we can have so many emotions coming through, so many feelings. And part of the tending of the breast is tending to that realm, tending to the emotions that flow through our hearts. All that is flowing through our hearts, to actually be with those things, which is very courageous, can be very courageous to really let yourself feel your breaths and feel what is happening in your heart, what is flowing through your heart. But that is part of the medicine, and the superpower of it is that when we feel these things, we allow them to flow through us and inform us, right? To actually transform us and inform us, rather than to block them and not want to feel them and stuff them away into our breasts, where then they just sit and fester and become blockages to our feelings and to our truths, where then we can't hear those sensitive songs and signals of our heart anymore. So just sharing this wisdom transmission with you, and an encouragement to tend to your breaths, to tend to the channels of your heart, so that you can be more in tune with your truths. Because your truths are really needed, and your truths are medicine. And all of the wisdom and gnosis that you have in your heart is really important, and is medicine for all. It's medicine for the field. It's medicine for your relationships. It is medicine for all aspects of your life.